All right, so we're diving into something pretty wild today. AI and empathy. Okay,
Okay.
you heard right, AI and empathy.
Interesting.
So get this, a new study just came out from Imperial College London,
Okay.
and it says that people actually felt sorry for AI bots, like actually felt bad for them in a game,
Mm.
in a ball game.
Really?
Yeah, no joke. They used something called Cyberball, which is basically like a virtual game of catch, right?
I see.
So you've got human players, you've got a virtual bot. They're all tossing around this virtual ball.
Okay.
But then the humans in the game, they start leaving the bot out.
So they're excluding it.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
And here's the kicker. The other participants, the ones who weren't excluding the bot,
Right.
they actually tried to make it fair.
Interesting.
They started throwing the virtual ball to the AI more, like way more often,
Mm.
almost as if they were trying to include it, make it feel better, you
Well,
know?
that's pretty fascinating.
Right. It's like they were trying to right a wrong, but it's a bot. It's not a person, but
Yeah.
it's like something out of a movie or something.
It is. It is. It really speaks to our nature as social creatures.
Right.
Even if we know logically it's just AI,
Right.
we still have this instinct, this urge to make sure everyone's included.
It's really interesting. So how'd they actually study this?
Uh-huh.
How do you make a virtual ball game a test for empathy?
Well, they took 244 people, all ages,
Okay.
had them play the cyberball game, and in some of the rounds,
Yeah.
the bot was included, and in others, it was totally frozen out by the other players.
So they were really looking at whether people just ignored the bot
Right.
or if they would try to even our playing field.
Exactly. Exactly. And the results were pretty telling.
Fascinating stuff. So tell me more about those results. Fascinating stuff. Tell me more about those results.
Well, they found most people, they tried to, level the playing field for the bot.
Really?
Yeah, when that AI was being excluded,
Yeah.
the other players, they were way more likely to keep throwing the ball to it.
Wow. So they were like sticking up for it, even though it's just an AI. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised by that.
Yeah.
You'd think they would just focus on, I don't know, the other human players.
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it?
It really is. Did the study say anything about age? Like, did younger people maybe care less since they're growing up with AI all around?
That's a great question. And
Yeah.
it's something they looked at specifically.
Okay.
And get this, they found older participants, they were actually more likely to see it as unfair
Oh, wow.
that the bot was being left out.
So the opposite of what you might think.
Yeah.
You would think it'd be the younger generation, more used to interacting with AI,
Yeah.
and they would treat it like just another player.
You'd think, right.
Yeah.
But this shows this isn't just about, digital natives or whatever we call it.
Right.
There might be something deeper here, something about how our brains are wired,
Yeah.
how we see fairness, even when it comes to, well, the digital world.
So this was more than a fun experiment.
Real-
With a virtual game, there's some bigger implications here for
Absolutely.
how we design AI, right?
100%.
Because if people are naturally inclined to treat AI as, I don't know, almost like social beings,
Yeah,
even though they know it's not a person, that's something developers have to think about,
for sure.
right? Like if you're designing some AI companion
Right.
or a virtual assistant or whatever, do you then have to program in responses that take these social cues into account?
That's the question, isn't it? It's like,
Yeah.
should your chatbot be able to sense if a user is getting frustrated
Yeah.
and respond accordingly, even though it doesn't really get what frustration is?
Right.
Like, we're entering this whole new world of how we interact with computers.
Yeah.
And if we're already seeing this kind of, I guess you'd call it empathetic response in a simple game,
Right.
imagine what'll happen as AI gets even more complex, even more, integrated into our lives.
It's kind of exciting and scary at the same time.
Right?
Because, like, on the one hand, you can imagine AI companions that actually provide comfort,
Companionship, support.
Yeah, like real companionship and support.
Yeah,
But then there's this other side
of course.
where people might become, I don't know, overly reliant on these AI companions
Right. Dependent.
and maybe even prefer that to messy human relationships.
It's a double-edged sword for sure.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
It is.
So we've been talking about this Cyberball study,
Right.
and it's really got us thinking.
Yeah.
But it's important to remember, this all happened in a very controlled virtual setting.
Right. In the lab,
Yeah,
so to speak.
exactly. So what happens when we take this out of the game and into the real world?
Right.
Would people still feel sorry for a bot?
Yeah, would they? That's a million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
And the researchers even admitted this cyberball thing, it's a start,
Yeah.
but it might not be the whole picture.
Right. So how do you even study that real-world AI interaction? I mean, are we talking like putting AI therapists in labs or what?
Well, not therapists and labs, but they are working on new experiments
Okay.
that are more, true to life.
Uh,
Think like face-to-face interactions with AI.
oh, okay.
Maybe even using those super realistic avatars we're starting to see.
Right, right. I've seen those. And I mean, if people are still trying to be nice to bots when they're looking them in the eye, like, that's different.
It's a whole other ball game, right?
Really is.
It makes you wonder, would people trust an AI's advice more face to face?
Mm,
Would they be more or less likely to leave an AI out of a conversation
right.
if it feels like the AI is actually in the room? You
Right.
just don't know yet.
It's wild to think about.
It is.
Have you ever had an experience with like a chatbot or a virtual assistant
Yeah.
where it felt, I don't know, surprisingly human?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It makes you wonder where we draw the line.
It's getting blurry, that's for sure.
It really is. And if we're already showing this empathy toward AI, even in a limited way,
Right.
like in this game, what happens as AI gets even more advanced?
Right, as it becomes more a part of our daily lives.
Exactly.
It's a huge question, and it's one we can't ignore.
No.
We have to think about the implications for our relationships, for how we see ourselves.
It's like we're on the edge of something totally new,
Right.
something with huge potential.
Good and bad.
Yeah, exactly. Both. But we need to learn as we go.
Absolutely.
Try to understand this whole, I don't know, this evolving relationship.
Between humans and the machines, yeah.
It really is something to keep thinking about.
100%.
Well, on that note, fascinating stuff as always. Really appreciate the insights.
Happy to be here. Always a pleasure to dive deep into these topics.
That's what we do. That's what we do.